Yes, I mean, Nancy Hollander is an amazing hero. I really wanted to play her.
Ich bin Nancy Hollander, das ist meine Mitarbeiterin. Wir möchten Sie gern vertreten.
I love her engagement and the fact that she's had this mission in her life.
Sie wollen einen Drahtzieher der 9/11-Anschläge verteidigen?
It's really a love letter to the rule of law and really chastens people to make sure that they don't throw out the law.
Sollte der Häftling nach Ihnen greifen, schieben Sie sich vom Tisch weg. Wir kommen so schnell wie möglich rein.
Hello, I'm Norbert Krohn from Berlin, Germany. Hi, Jodie. It's an honor meeting you, especially also with this film, which is an important film, I think. So, the character that you play, Nancy Hollander, what is it that is her motivation, and how do you relate personally to this?
Yes, I mean, Nancy Hollander is an amazing hero, somebody who has had as her mission to uphold the rule of law and the Constitution, you know, that she believes in, defend people that may or may not be guilty, because, you know, that's how we have a just system. And she's there to challenge the government, you know, that's her life story. So I really wanted to play her. I didn't really know a lot about her. And when I found out that, of course, she's somebody who just wears bright red lipstick and bright red nail polish and, you know, wears a lot of black leather and likes to drive race cars, you know, I thought, oh, wow, she's an amazing person, amazing ball of contradictions. I love her engagement and the fact that she's had this mission in her life. And the most important thing for her making this movie is being able to get Mohammedu's story out there and possibly get Guantanamo closed. She's a force to be reckoned with.
You have met her, I know, talked to her. Did you ever think maybe I should have become a lawyer?
Sometimes I think just because I'm so interested in the law, and I always have been interested in the law, but I realized that I'm not very detail oriented the way lawyers are and the way they write. So I think I would have been a better journalist who talks about the law than a lawyer.
So this seems to be a historical movie, but I mean, it has a message for today, I think, also under the new Biden government. Is it like this?
Yeah, I think it's very relevant to everything that we've seen recently. It's really a love letter to the rule of law and really chastens people to make sure that they don't throw out the law because of emotions. I think that's a very important statement for today, and is a you know, really reminds us of the foundations of democracy.
Meeting Mohammedu in the film as Nancy, what did you feel yourself in this situation?
Well, I think, you know, hopefully it's all on screen. That's what I hope. I hope everybody gets it on screen. But I think that, you know, Nancy's character is somebody who has had to defend herself. She puts up a lot of barriers and walls and doesn't trust because she's spent her whole life defending guilty people, you know. So immediately, of course, she's very suspicious and careful about Mohammedu. She has experience enough to be careful. But over the course of those 15 years, 10 years that they knew each other, that they spent in that prison of her going to visit him, she came to really care for him and open to him and see him as this extraordinary, you know, not guilty, beautiful, affectionate, loving, vulnerable person. And that is the amazing part of the story, is that he was able to go through what he went through and still they were not able to break him of his humanity. I think that's, you know, the lesson of the movie.
Thank you so much for this interview.
Bye.
Die amerikanische Regierung hält mehr als 700 Gefangene in Guantanamo fest. Seit wann sperrt man in diesem Land Leute ohne Prozess ein?
Rufen Sie diese Nummer an und fragen Sie nach meiner Mutter. Sagen Sie ihr, weiß nicht. Irgendwas Nettes.
Pleasure meeting you, both of you. Can you hear me?
Yes. It's a
Okay.
pleasure to meet you too.
Thank you, Mrs. Hollander.
Nice to meet you too.
Hello, Mr. Slahi. My first question goes to you, and if you want to, you can answer it in German. How accurate do you think is the movie?
Ich sage immer, dass Guantanamo ist die Dramatisierung von dem Film The Mauritanian. Und die Sachen sind fast genau alle Sachen, die Leute, die man einfach in diesem Film sieht, sind einfach geschehen. Aber natürlich, man kann nicht die ganze, die Folterungen und so konnten nicht alle gebracht werden. Und es gab auch sehr gute Momente, auch nicht nur Folter. Es gab auch Freundschaft zwischen mir und den Wächter. Und es gab auch zwischen mir und den Vernehmer und dann normale Leute auch, die da arbeiten, wie Soldaten und so weiter und so fort. So, ich bin sehr, sehr zufrieden mit dem Film. Man kann ruhig sagen.
Thank you. And next question, also to you in English, because you mentioned the torture. What was the harshest thing for you during this long period of 14 years? Was it the torture, or was it more this situation of not knowing what's going to happen to you, to having no charge? What makes it so hard to be there?
Das Schlimmste in dieser ganzen Episode war, wenn alles diese Leutnant namens Richard Zulli aus Chicago zu mir kam und mir mitteilte, dass meine Mutter verhaftet werden soll und sie wird vergewaltigt. Er hat mir das nicht gesagt, aber er hat gesagt, sie wird nur mit Männern verhaftet. Und ich hatte einfach nicht glauben wollen. Einfach war das so schwer. Aber an diesem Punkt, an dieser Zeit, habe ich mich entschieden, alles zu sagen, was die Amerikaner, was meine Vernehmer hören wollten. Und es gab da keine Grenze. Und ich habe wirklich ein falsches Geständnis geschrieben und unterschrieben, um einfach meine Mutter zu retten.
Thank you so much. I need to ask another question to Mrs. Hollander, so I don't want to interrupt you, but it's a short time. Mrs. Hollander, can you explain us very shortly, very briefly, how is the legal situation of Mohammedu? Do you think he's innocent, or is it just without a charge? There was no reason to put him in detention?
Well, I think he's innocent, yes. And they've never shown any evidence in the 15 years that I've been involved in this case. The government has not shown evidence to detain him. All they needed was the smallest amount of evidence, just a preponderance. It's just tipping the scales. And after all these years, they can't do that. So yes, I've spent so much time with Mohammedu that I would know if he were not completely innocent. And he is, and he should never have been taken there in the first place. He should never have been tortured, and he should have been released immediately if he ended up there.
Ask a question to the both of you. What is the message of the film to us today? Maybe a short answer of both of you.
The message of this film is what happens when you give up, when a country reduces itself to having no justice system and not caring at all about anything or other than torturing people to get them to talk. When the country has when people have lost all their rights, this is the message of this movie, is not to ever let that happen again.
Ich schließe Nancy an und sage dazu, Demokratie funktioniert, Diktatur funktioniert nicht.
Thank you very much. I admire your work, both of you.
Thank you.
Dankeschön nach Berlin.
Danke. To Mauritanian.
Das wird eine Menge Arbeit.
Die Regierung weigert sich, uns die Beweismittel gegen sie zu zeigen. Es wurde alles geschwärzt.
Dann beschweren Sie sich bei der Regierung. Ich bin hier schon viele Jahre und immer hieß es, du bist schuldig. Nicht für eine bewiesene Tat, sondern bloß wegen irgendwelcher Verdächtigungen und Verbindungen. Ich bin unschuldig.
Bonjour Tahar, comment allez-vous?
Très bien, et vous-même, Norbert?
Ça va, on a un peu de neige aujourd'hui. Bon, c'est un grand plaisir de parler avec vous sur ce film que je trouve très important et que j'ai beaucoup aimé. Quand même, j'aimerais bien parler avec vous en anglais pour notre émission, si vous êtes d'accord.
Allons-y, absolument.
So, I know that you have met Mohammedu, but how did you meet him? Via Skype or in person? And how was your, feeling? What did you, who did you see? Who did you meet? What kind of person?
Yeah, as you said, I first met him on Skype. I was shooting abroad, and there was no COVID at that time, not yet. So yeah, we met like this, and the first time I met him, I was very surprised to see that a man who's been tortured this way, who spent 14 years in jail, was full of light, very happy, generous, funny, smiling from ear to ear. It was almost hard to believe. So it was a very joyful encounter, and I had to, for my to build my character, to ask him some questions. So we talked about his relationship with his lawyers, with his family, with his guards, his life there in Guantanamo. And when we talked about the torture scenes, I'd say, he changed. I mean, I could feel that the mood was going in another place. It was more dark, more sad. It was hard for him to explain himself. So you know, I felt bad. I felt bad. So I didn't want to ask him any more questions about it. You could see how those memories were still vivid inside of him. So I stopped, and then we talked about his life before Guantanamo, after Guantanamo, so I could understand more his psychology. And he is so clever. I think he's gifted to be able to do what he's done. Meaning his developing such a beautiful philosophy, forgiving people who did bad things to you, especially those things. To me, it's marvelous, almost impossible. You see, and he said,
I hate to interrupt you. But I have to ask a second question about you playing him. In what scene, in what situation did you have the feeling, now I feel his tragedy the most? Was it in the Guantanamo scene, with the interrogations, or was it during the torture scenes, or where did you feel it?
There was two moments. Of course, it's a movie, so I knew the outcome. But the moment he says goodbye to his mom was very hard, when you know what's going to happen next. This moment was very tough and very real for me. And the second one, it's always related to his mom, because I had a very special relationship with my mom. So I found a connection to him in this. And yeah, when he hallucinates, when he gets tortured, and he sees his mom in the cell, this moment was very strange to me, because I didn't know how I could reach that level of truth, and I was so exhausted. It was almost the last day of shooting, second to last, something like that. And I was tired. I was on diet, really, and the shooting, and I almost saw my mom, my own one, and it was very confusing. I could do it just once. I said to Kevin, I can do it just once. And then I collapsed. Yeah.
Tahar, je vous remercie beaucoup et bonne chance pour vous.
C'est à vous. C'était un plaisir.
Au revoir.
Merci.
Er wurde immer wieder verhört und man hält ihn seit 6 Jahren fest, ohne eine einzige Anklage zu erheben.
Stört es Sie überhaupt nicht, so jemanden zu verteidigen?
Neben ihm verteidige ich dabei auch den Rechtsstaat.
Hi, Norbert.
Hi, Kevin. It's really a great pleasure meeting you. And I think it's a very important film.
Thank you very much.
So why did you finally decide to do the story of Mohammedu? And then you phoned with him or you Skyped with him. How was meeting him like?
Well, you know, I was sent the book that Mohammedu wrote in prison, Guantanamo Diary. It's the only book still written by somebody inside the prison. And I thought it was totally fascinating. I thought it was an amazing document, but I couldn't see how to make a film out of it. And then the producer said to me, just speak to Mohammedu. So I got on Skype and I was so surprised because he wasn't what I expected. I expected somebody who was angry, who was bitter, who was maybe a broken person. But in fact, I found a man who is full of life, who's full of laughter, who's very funny, who's singing songs to me by the Black Eyed Peas, boom, boom, pow. And he was more than anything else, he's made a decision to forgive and to try and move on with his life. And I was so impressed by this and by his positivity. I thought, I have to make a film about this man. And so it was making a film about this man that motivated the whole project.
Mm. Some of the most shocking informations about his story come in right in the end when, I mean, we think he is released, he's going to be released, but no, he stays another 7 years in prison. This was under Obama and Biden government. So what does this message of the film, what message does the film send to us today? We have a new Biden government.
Well, of course, the situation was then and is now politically very complicated, and Obama and Biden did not create the mess that Guantanamo was. They were left with a very difficult problem to clean up, and they wanted to close Guantanamo. As Biden has said now, he wants to close it now. But they've made such a mess, the Americans, because the people who are left there, the 40 people or so who are left there, some of them are really guilty of terrible things. And yet, because they've been tortured and the evidence that's been garnered from them is through torture, it's not admissible in court. So they're in a legal limbo where these people, they don't want to release them because they think they really did terrible things, and they can't put them through to court. So what do you do? Originally, when Obama wanted to close Guantanamo, he didn't because his own party wouldn't agree to take Guantanamo prisoners onto the American mainland. It was too politically unpopular in the United States. So how Biden is going to achieve that, I don't know, but I think it's highly important symbolically, if for no other reason, that he draws a line and says, this place is closing now forever.
Thank you so much for your answers. We have to leave.
That's a shame. It's too short. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Mein Mandant ist kein Verdächtiger. Er ist Zeuge.
Mr. Slahi, heben Sie bitte Ihre rechte Hand und sprechen Sie mir nach.